Hi, I'm a photographer and this is Inside Motorsport. In this episode, I'll take you behind the scenes of Alpine and Williams private tests, held at Monza during the first weekend of April. These tests were booked by the French team around a couple of months before. The British team joined later on, taking the opportunity to let their drivers test while sharing the costs. Both Alpine and Williams used their 2023 cars during the 2 days, respectively the A523 and the FW45. On Saturday, Alpine ran Paul Aron, while Williams fielded Luke Browning. Sunday was the more interesting day, as Franco Colapinto, the main candidate to replace s.1 as official racing driver for the team in Formula 1, took the wheel for Alpine, and Williams gave driving time to Victor Martens, who had been announced as an academy driver just 6 days earlier, on the Monday of the same week. These tests were particularly interesting also because of the timing. In fact, probably to avoid attracting too much attention, Alpine decided to hold them on the same Saturday and Sunday of the Japanese Grand Prix, when all fans were focused on the Suzuka circuit. Jack Doohan's crash at the beginning of the FP2 that weekend, combined with the growing rumors of him being replaced by Colapinto, ended up giving this test significant media impact anyway. On Saturday, I arrived at the circuit around 4 p.m. Paul Aron was on track. He completed 5 laps, alternating between cool-down laps and push laps. The Estonian driver returned to the track about 20 minutes later for a similar work. The goal was likely to gradually reach the limits. In fact, it was only his second ever day on track in a Formula 1 car, following the post-season tests held at Yas Marina after the 2024 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Before, he finished in P3 both the Formula 3 and Formula 2 championships as a rookie. He returned to the track 10 minutes later for a simple outlap. After that, he stayed in the garage for about 20 minutes. Once back, he completed a much longer stint, running as many as 12 laps to test the race pace. He used a set of hard tires that had already been used before, as you can tell from the pickup on the wheels in this photo I took at the beginning of the stint. At the end of it, around 5:20, Aron completed his own track program for the day. I spotted Luke Browning for the first time right before 5, as he went out on track with the red-banded compound. With them, he attempted several flying laps, briefly returning to the pits a couple of times. During one of these stops, as shown by the white marking on the front wheels in this image, a new set of tires was fitted. This photo of him is one of my favorites from the first day of testing. While Aron was wrapping up his day of testing, Browning continued his run on a set of used hard tires, with which he went for a push lap. Unlike his Alpine colleague, Luke had already completed multiple days of testing in Formula 1 cars. In 2023, as a reward for winning the Autosport BRDC award the previous year, he took part in a test at Silverstone with the 2021 Aston Martin. Moreover, being part of the Williams Academy since April 2023, he had the opportunity to participate as a rookie driver in the FP1 of the 2024 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, as well as a full day of post-season testing in the days following the race. He finished third in the 2024 Formula 3 Championship. In the remaining half hour, the British driver completed 2 more short stints, one on medium tires and one on softs. During these runs, I spotted him through the Scary chicane, taking advantage of the softer light given by the setting sun. Williams made full use of the available time, ending Browning's test day at 6 p.m. Back in front of the paddock, just 20 minutes later, I spotted him again right before he got into the car. Unlike the other drivers, he left straight away because he had a flight to catch. We later understood that during that day, Luke was preparing his second Formula 1 pre-practice session. In fact, on the following Tuesday, Williams announced that he would take part in FP1 in Bahrain, driving the FW47. On the second day, I arrived at the circuit around 11:30. Firstly, I headed to the grandstands at the inside of the Parabolica exit, from where you can see the pit lane. From there, I spotted Colapinto as he exited the pits. He was on a new set of hard tires, with which he completed a short stint. Colapinto returned to the track shortly after 12, on a new compound of softs, with which he attempted 2 qualifying laps. After a quick stop in the pits to refuel and check the telemetry, the Argentine driver went out for a second run doing the same kind of work, most likely on the same compound as before. This stint marked the end of the morning session. Franco was the first to head back out on track, shortly after 2. I hadn't reached the grandstand yet, when he made his main mistake of the day. A low cap followed by a trip through the gravel at Ascari. After that, his Alpine remained in the garage for about an hour and a half, for the necessary checks and repairs to the floor. Once back on track, around 3:45, Colapinto was on a set of hard tires, with which he completed a race pace stint of about 10 laps. After that, he returned to the track at 4:20, just for a single lap. During out laps and in laps, the Alpine, unlike the Williams, ran at a constant speed. This type of test is usually carried out to compare on-track data with those obtained in the wind tunnel. Colapinto returned to action at 5, on a fresh set of hard tires, with which he completed a stint of around 8 or 9 laps. The Argentine driver was by far the most experienced on track. In fact, he had already completed 9 full Formula 1 race weekends with Williams in 2024. Franco's next race pace stint was the longest of the day, with 13 laps completed. After it, his testing day came to an end. I spotted Victor Martens for the first time on track shortly before 12. He was completing a fairly long race pace stint on hard tires. At the end of it, he wrapped up his morning of testing. In the afternoon, the French driver only ran on soft tires. I counted 7 different short stints, all focused on qualifying. Each run followed the same pattern over 5 laps: an out lap, a first push lap, a cool down and recharge lap, a second push lap and an in lap. Also, Martens had already gained some Formula 1 experience in the past, having been part of the Alpine Academy for many years. The Frenchman, who won the Formula 3 championship in 2022, had already completed 4 test days with Alpine's 2021 and 2022 cars. As previously said, this was his first outing with Williams. Victor ended his testing day shortly before 5. Regarding my photos for Dante, during the afternoon I tried to create a slightly artistic effect by using the branch of a cherry tree in the foreground. And this is my favorite shot of the weekend: Victor Martens breaking into the Roger chicane during the outlap of his final stint. I really like the effect created by a small cloud that happened to pass over the braking zone at just that moment. At the end of the day we moved to the area in front of the paddock, hoping to spot the drivers. At 7 o'clock the most awaited driver, Franco Colapinto, left the garage with a trolley, heading towards a car that was waiting for him. He got into the back seat, and once the car reached the paddock exit, he was surrounded by fans, who had gathered in a large number to ask for a picture or an autograph. I had counted around 40 people in total during the wait. After greeting a few fans, the car drove off, and most of the crowd quickly disappeared. The few who stayed a little longer also got the chance to meet the other Alpine driver, Aron, who was in the garage that day despite not being scheduled to drive. Here he is with a postcard, which he signed and handed to a fan. Following the tests, it emerged that the 2 Williams were on similar lap times. Among the Alpine drivers, it was reported that Colapinto lapped on average between 5 and 7 tenths quicker than Aron. However, this information should be interpreted with caution, as the weather conditions were quite different across the 2 days. On Saturday temperatures were higher, averaging around 18 degrees, while Sunday saw much windier conditions, with the temperature dropping to an average of 14 degrees. And that's it for this episode. I'll see you in the next one, which will focus on the Porsche Carrera Cup Italia's pre-season tests, held at Monza a few days later.